Now, I know I probably titled this video like CGC leak, breaking news, signature, yada, yada, something. Probably have a thumbnail with my hand on my face, or a giant shocked face. And I'm not going to bury the lead. We're definitely going to talk about some interesting stuff coming out of Vice President of CGC Comics, Shawn Caffrey's interview on the Comics and Crypto channel. But before we get into that, something very, very important we have to talk about. Okay. I was having an argument with my friends that they think that they could get 8 yards rushing in an NFL game. I say no freaking way. Are you going to take an average person, put them at running back, and they're going to walk away with 8 yards? Because I'm calling BS. There are professional running backs who literally have negative rushing yard games. Not to mention that the first time you get lit up, you're getting injured and you're going to probably fumble the football. This is just facts, okay? But I'm open to hearing some counter arguments. So let me know in the comments. Okay, let's get into this video here today. Again, like I probably already titled it, there was an interview over on the Comics and Crypto YouTube channel. Shout out to Shawn and Spencer, awesome guys over there, who had Shawn Caffrey, the president or vice president of CGC Comics, on the channel to talk about a bunch of interesting topics, CGC and its collaborations and autograph signing and the JSA and all that stuff. And it was a really great interview. I'll put a link in the description if you guys want to watch the whole thing. But there were two really interesting things that came out of this interview that I almost felt like this is like pretty big news. Like, I feel like I should make a video about this. One, CGC is starting to do expansion into the Emirates and UAE. I think he said that there was a show in Dubai and they actually sent some people out there. And he said that it went really well. And it'll be interesting to see if the money over there ever gets into comic books and collectibles. I mean, they're already all up on like the Pokemon and the Magic the Gathering stuff, but getting them into comic books in a bigger way than they already are would be very interesting to follow. But the second thing that he mentioned is that CGC is about to change their census and their database to where you're going to be able to search for books based on their signatures, which is pretty wild to think about. But I'm going to table that and let's kind of listen to what Shawn had to say about this, and then we'll kind of unpack what this might mean for comic book signatures in the future. All right, here's the clip.
We've been revamping our census. So we already kind of updated it recently, but we have another one coming up, which our next update. Ready for this? It's not only going to be, because you can pull up and you can see what grades or whatever books, how many 9/8 of Spidey 300. Yeah. Now you will be able to break it down and do 6 series. Not only see how many were 6 series, but you can break it down by who signed it. So cool. How many were signed by just McFarlane, and then you can see that. How many were signed by McFarlane and Stan Lee or David Michelini? You can break it down. So being able to really kind of provide that information for collectors, I think it's going to do the market really well. And I don't know, I'm really excited to launch that for people and JSA as well. So signatures, you'll be able to break it out by who signed it. So if you're looking for stuff, you can see how many are out there, what the rarities are, and I think it's healthy for the market. Yeah, we're really looking forward to that. That's like my big one.
So there you have it from Shawn talking about how soon the census is going to be able to sort by signatures. And I got to say, this is a much needed feature that they needed to have and add to their database, because there is an element to this that I think a lot of collectors are going to be interested in. I mean, I know from my own collecting that this is something that I would actually use, because I spent a lot of time on Go Collect, looking at signed books, trying to figure out like, oh, well, how many times did Frank Miller sign this versus Todd McFarlane? For instance, we got the Todd McFarlane signing coming up. I got a Spawn and Batman that I was thinking of sending in, and I went over to the signatures, and I was really curious to see how many times this book has been double signed, and you really can't break that out in any notable way. I mean, it'll tell you that in 9/8 grade, this has 399 CGC signatures on the census for 9/8, but at the same time, you have to manually click on these pictures. Luckily, GoClick allows you to do that, but you'd have to manually click on them and say, okay, well, this one right here was Frank Miller, but it doesn't seem to have Todd McFarlane on it. You click on this one. Okay, this one is Frank Miller, but there's no Todd McFarlane. You click on this one. Okay, this one has Frank Miller, but again, no Todd McFarlane. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, maybe the Todd McFarlane signature is a little more rare on this particular book than that of the Frank Miller one. in. But either way, it was a little painstaking and tedious to have to do that. And then finally, you can kind of come across one and see that, oh, okay, here's one that's signed by both of them. And then that's kind of the percentage of the breakdown on the census. Although, as we all would know, like that's not reliable at all. I mean, I'm just kind of, guessing at that point. But it seems like, based on what Shawn is saying, that the census on CGC is going to be able to have you break it out. And he mentioned that it's not going to be able to do it in total yet. But eventually they're going to add more features to it. And I imagine that it'll be like something that you can actually search, across all different types of books, across all different types of ages. And I really do think that this is them, looking ahead and making sure that they're going to have the tools and the infrastructure to make signed books and signed collectibles, something that has a very healthy and useful ecosystem and tool set, because I think that they know that, the signed stuff is really, really important. And speaking of, the science stuff being really, really important, I mean, guys, it is Halloween and we are rapidly approaching the Todd McFarlane CGC signature series. I mean, this one is going to go absolutely crazy. CGC coming out with a couple press reports talking about King Spawn number 50. They did this kind of collaboration with Todd McFarlane where they're going to have like some kind of sketch covers and some limited editions. I just kind of wanted to talk about it to, bring a point of emphasis of how much, they're sort of banking on and promoting the Todd McFarlane signature. And like I said at the beginning of the video, like Todd is becoming so massive. It feels like the hype for this one is at another level. And if you guys don't know, it is the 31st, and they did create these custom labels for Spawn and Todd McFarlane, where he has like some Spawn characters up there. This is just for the Todd McFarlane signing, and then he has the McFarlane thing that was custom created for this event. And I bring it up today because there is some deal where these special labels are only $5 through October 31st, which is today. So if you guys are interested in that, I mean, now is your time if you want to at least save a little bit of money on these custom labels. I personally am never really into the custom labels. Like, I don't really like them. I'd rather have kind of like, your standard label. Although I think that for specific signing events like this, I do think that there are certain collectors that like this thing. Either way, I think that the overall point of the video, with Shawn kind of breaking this news or teasing it out on this interview and making this announcement that they're going to be having these tools and these features, to me is a clear indication that they see signatures as kind of, again, that next frontier. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how CGC is introducing autograph grading in combination with their JSA services and stuff. Obviously, autograph grading has been a thing in other collectibles, and Shawn does talk about it a little bit in this interview. Nothing beyond what we already know about it. I mean, I know a lot of the comments have been that, we kind of view it as like, I don't really know about this. Like, is it really that necessary? But I think that, if it's working in other collectibles and other companies are doing this stuff and it's seemingly popular and seemingly desirable, then they view this as something that they should be doing. And I do think that there's going to be people that are going to the Todd McFarlane signing, going to be sending in a ton of their books, and they're going to be paying for that service to have that super clean 10-0 Todd McFarlane signature. And this stuff is going to be printing money. I think Shawn, even at the end of the interview, said something like they've at this point graded 11 million collectibles. And he thinks that it's totally plausible that Todd McFarlane at this point has signed over 100,000 comic books. I mean, if you do the math, what does he charge per signature? $160, I think, is the price of his rate. I mean, I know that he probably didn't always charge that, but we're talking about $10 to $16 million of value that Todd McFarlane has generated. I think that CGC clearly sees that there is money to be made in the signature game because there's just that much demand, especially for Todd McFarlane. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was me kind of going over this interesting little kernel of information that came out of the Comics Crypto channel. What do you guys think about that feature overall? Do you guys think that you would use this? I mean, there's a lot of books out there that I actually don't really want to talk about here that on the channel that I thought about a lot in terms of like, oh, is there a moat here for collectibles that you can kind of get? This book is not signed that often. I mean, imagine, finding certain creators like Neil Adams or Jack Kirby or even Stan Lee and trying to figure out like, oh, what are his grails that he's worked on that he's actually signed the least? You can find those books that are actually pretty tough to find certain signatures on. I mean, at this point, I think there are people out there that have been doing it, but they've been eyeballing it. And now you're actually going to have information on the CGC census that can actually confirm it. Anyways, that's all for this one. Thanks so much for watching. And actually, before I wrap up, tomorrow, CBB Auctions, their featured event. They got amazing books going up for sale. Only 2 days left to bid. And you guys can use my promo code SWAG, SWAG, save 5% on your order. Imagine if you spent $10 billion, how much money you would be saving. 5% of $10 billion? So head on over to cbbauctions.com. That is cbbauctions.com. Use promo code SWAG, SWAG at checkout to save 5%. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next video.